What's up, everybody? Andrew Clear here from the F1 podcast, bringing to you season 2, episode 19, which is the Dutch Grand Prix review. As I mentioned, it's co-host Andrew Clear here tonight. You're doing a solo job. Unfortunately, Erica and John couldn't make it to this week's episode, but nonetheless, I'm going to be running it by myself, and I'm going to try and provide you the energy that the Dutch fans provided this week in a sellout crowd of 305,000 at Zandvoort, minus the flares thrown on the track. Thank you to the idiot that got caught on the video for doing that, because that was an absolute joke and he should be allowed back.
You lose.
In my opinion, creating a hazard on the track. Just stupid. Nevertheless, yes, Andrew Cleary here for the F1 podcast, and here to tell you that Max Verstappen has won his home race in back-to-back seasons. And as Kenny Smith once put it with the Vince Carter, as Kenny Smith once put it, once Vince Carter won the 2000 slam dunk contest, it's over, ladies and gentlemen. Like, might as well just sign the check and let's play for second place at this point, because there's no way in hell that Max gives up a 109-point lead with like 6 races to go. It would be a colossal fuck up of proportions. But nevertheless, he wins on his home ground, on his home soil at Zandvoort, which, had some fun racing this weekend. I would say so the most. Our top 10, we had Verstappen 1, Russell 2, drama there with the Mercedes. We'll get into it. Leclerc 3, Hamilton 4, Perez 5, Alonso 6, Norris 7th, Sainz 8th. We'll get into the Ferrari drama as well in this episode. Ocon 9 and Stroll 10th. So it was a good weekend overall for teams, a lot of teams in the points. But yeah, let's start off with Red Bull and, Max really just dominating from start to finish, except when Mercedes was on the hard tire and they were looking genuinely paced. So, Red Bull had to contend with, in the way, with not only having to compete with the Ferraris behind, but also with the gamble that Mercedes took on the one-stop strategy. And if it actually wasn't for the safety cars, who knows if Max would have won the race. But nevertheless, safety cars came out, was able to get a hold of the virtual safety car, and then was able to overtake Hamilton on the second safety car, which, by the way, took forever to get released, because I don't know what the FIA were thinking, letting Bottas just sit in the open field like that on the main straight. Very dangerous spot, especially when Sainz overtook Ocon there. When he, in the first go around, when he was stuck on the track, I was like, it's like you getting off on the shoulder of like the 401 or the major highway series, and opening your door to see people ripping by you in the right lane at like 120 clicks an hour. Yeah, more so like 250. So a little scary there. But yeah, Max winning on back-to-back soils. It's his 10th win of the year. And I believe the record is 13 that got set by Vettel and Michael Schumacher for single season race wins. I don't know. I tell you, he could break this. Like, he is on absolute fire right now, winning 4 in a row. This is the first time he's won 4 in a row this season, but he's won 3 in a row prior in the earlier steps, and with 7 races to go. Like, why not? There's no way he can't win 4 of the 7 coming up. Car's too good. Red Bull's car is too good. Now, with all that said, Checo didn't really have the pace this weekend, finishing P5 where he started off in P5. But nevertheless, I think we're at the point where Checo's just going to be there to now help Red Bull support for the winning of the Constructors' Championship, letting Max win the Drivers' Championship for the second year in a row. Everyone's hunky-dory. And unfortunately, with this car, I think they're kind of more obviously going to tailor it to Max now at this point, which Checo either A, has to change his driving style to learn, or B, just be good enough to help Red Bull win their first Constructors' Championship since 2013. So I think we're kind of going to that point.
What's up, guys? It's Ricci here, taking a quick break from the episode today. Just also want to thank Andrew for doing this all by himself, where myself and Erica could not make it. And it was a crazy race, to be honest. Max Verstappen winning again, and I think he's on par to win this season. I think there's no question about it. But nevertheless, I will let I will bring you back into Andrew's comments. But I just want to say, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Instagram. And we're so excited for the Italian Grand Prix this weekend. But enough about me talking. Let's get back to Andrew. Thanks, everyone.
With regards to Red Bull in that case, just wanted to address something about the F1 community. There's some really disgusting comments made by F1, I'd say quote unquote fans online by Hanna Schmitz, who's the Red Bull's principal strategy engineer, especially calling the AlphaTauri virtual safety car a conspiracy. It honestly just makes no sense. Why would they do that when they're already up like 140 points or 130 points in the Constructors' Championship? You're up nearly 100 points in the Drivers' Championship. Why would you risk a conspiracy theory of like, why would you deliberately purposely throw the race for that to happen? There's no net positive gain at all that comes from it. So those fans thinking that that's the case and then going online to make those disgusting comments about Hanna, the crazy part is, I bet if that was a man, no one would say anything. And it's really sad because we should really be celebrating women in the sport of that high, of that in such a great position. Like she's done an amazing job of at such a high level. She's like at the highest level. She's the principal strategy engineer. We should be celebrating that in the sport of a team that's going to win the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship that year. So nothing but love from the F1 podcast to Hanna Schmitz, because she's done an amazing job with that team, especially in Hungary was a huge race coming from P10 to P1. In Belgium from P14 to P1. I know they had a fast car, but still, you got to be strategic to get to that point. So nothing but love for Hanna in that case. So, but yeah, I don't see, going into Monza this week, another track where straight line speed is a huge thing. And when you have a car like Red Bull's that's fast in the straight line speed, but also efficient in the corners, it's going to be tough to beat this weekend. But nevertheless, actually, before we move on to Ferrari, I just want to mention that I am taping it on September 8th, which is the Thursday. Some very unfortunate news today with Queen Elizabeth's passing at the age of 96, living an amazing life. It was very sad to hear today for numerous reasons. In a way that, with the amount of power that she had, and she was able to make decisions that were, based on everyone's best interest and how well respected she was in the entire world, really effectively. It just really goes to show how much of a, special person she was, and that she will be missed going forward. So our thoughts and prayers are with the royal family today. And just wanted to send our condolences on behalf of the F1 podcast to the royal family for Queen Elizabeth's passing. Moving on then to Ferrari, another tough weekend again. Like, how many times would we say that in a row? Another tough weekend for Ferrari. It's like at this point, we're all watching the race, just waiting for the train wreck to happen. And when did it happen? First pit stop. Whole pit lane incident, like bringing out only 3 tires. I know it was a late call, but 3 tires? Are you kidding me? Even Benotto on the Sky Sports broadcast just couldn't believe it, calling it a mess. And then with the whole, leaving the spare tire wheel gun out in the open, because Zandvoort's got a very tight pit lane, so that will happen if you leave equipment out. And Checo just running over and absolutely ruining the tire gun, just a cherry on top of the shit Sunday for Ferrari there. And so, not only does Sainz get that issue, 12 seconds in the pit, loses his position. When they had the safety car come in for Bottas, they got to go through the pit lane, another 5-second penalty for an unsafe release. I'm like, come on. Just absolutely shambolic again for Ferrari this week. And Nico Rosberg's comments was harsh, but kind of in a fair way. If F1 and F2 and F3 come in an issue in that case, in a way where it's the strategists either need to change or they need to move on effectively. Like there needs to be a change. It's just becoming horrible. But for you Ferrari fans, there is Some good news coming up this week, I would say. They have a new livery to celebrate their 75th year at Monza this weekend. I really like the yellow accent tinge on to the new car, especially on the top end, having the 75. I think the livery looks really good. The suits are kind of funny. Looks like they're working at either McDonald's or Science has gone back to Renault. So it should be should be a fun weekend with regards to Ferrari. I really hope at their home GP they can just get it right, because they need something just to stay positive about this season, because the amount of points that they've choked away, it's been horrendous. Well, moving on to Mercedes, we finally got some drama in the Mercedes paddock this weekend. Thank God. It was a good gamble on strategy. Unlucky with the safety car, but to go a one-stop strategy really made the hard tire work. Really good to see them go. And yeah, they had genuine pace on that car with the hard tire, and they were setting fastest laps. So it was unlucky for them with the safety car, and Lewis Hamilton getting maybe a little taste of his own previous medicine, where I think if they really wanted to keep the race win, in my opinion, they should have kept both Hamilton and Russell out on. I know on the medium compound, because in a way Russell could have been there to protect against Max on the restart and try and keep pushing back to let Lewis gain an advantage in clean air. Nevertheless, didn't really work out. So, yeah, Hamilton was very pissed on the radio, which they ironically didn't show in like the best of team radios for Formula One on their Formula One's YouTube channel. So a little suspect there, but I don't think they want to showcase what happened. Yeah, it was quite interesting to see Hamilton kind of get acted like the second driver in that case. But no, it was good to see Mercedes kind of come back, and hopefully they want to be, hopefully they can continue to develop the car, because it would be nice next year to really have a 3-team battle in Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes, really try and contend for that constructors championship and have all 6 drivers be available to win the drivers championship. That's what we all want for, to be honest with you, at least going into next season, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Mercedes finally got some drama, quite interesting. We'll see how this weekend goes at Monza. I don't think they're going to be as good potentially as Zandvoort, but now we'll see. We shall see. On to Alpine. Great race from Alonso this weekend, making a P13 to P6. Huge way to get points. Another double points finish for the team. And they're really starting to open the gap for P4 against McLaren. Like they're to 125 to 101 points now. That's their 5th race in a row where they've gotten double point finishes. And yeah, I think they're going to be a well-oiled machine going into the end of the season, the push for the end of the season. It's crazy that they have apparently 13 options for next year's second seat. Who knows who it could be? I won't be surprised if it's Pierre Gasly or Mick Schumacher. If it is Mick Schumacher, I'm hoping that Danny Rick can go to Haas, because he could be a great job in the market. I'm probably going to try and push for that Danny Rick to Haas movement. If it's Pierre Gasly, then I'll talk about Lily with AlphaTauri, but there's going to be a potential guy coming from IndyCar, depending on the super license and how they can work around that. But 13 options open for next year soon. Got to start doing down those soon so you can get the driver ready. But if you're an Alpine fan right now, I think I'd be curious to hear who would you want as the second seat. So let us know in the comments on either the YouTube channel, or feel free to send that to us via direct message through our Instagram page, f1.podcast. Next, we'll go to McLaren. Oh boy. It is depressing if you're a Daniel Rick fan or a Daniel Ricciardo fan, because he just does not seem happy at all. Finishing P17 this week, they had him on he ended up with some weird 5-stop strategy. Just, I get what the safety cars include, just make no sense. And you almost kind of wonder if they're trying to do this on purpose to him now, but I just didn't have the pace at all. And Lando finishes P7. Interesting comments from Lando after the race, where he says, or he mentioned something about how he finished the points, and then also Esteban and Fernando finishing the points. So it's like Alpine versus me. And I'm like, oh man. Yeah, I understand Danny Rick is struggling very much so right now, but you can't say that because you're just gonna paint a target on your back. People aren't gonna like you. Finish him for not being humble. And I understand the situation, but it's just it doesn't look favorable from outsider fans' point of view, in my opinion, that he's making comments all about me. He's starting to become a little cocky, and he hasn't won anything. So keep that in mind. Oh, next team. You know what? Let's talk about AlphaTauri. What a ridiculous incident with Tsunoda. Like, I don't know what the heck was going on. First, he thought it was an unfit tire. So he stops on the side of a track, practically loses an entire lap for them to go read the data and then figure, oh no, the tire's back on. He still thinks there's something wrong. So he goes into the pits. They start fixing like his seatbelt, try to buckle him in even more. And then he thinks there's another problem. And he ended up just pulling off to the track on the side. I'm like, what are we doing over here? Apparently some differential issue. But again, like that is insane. To not really understand what's going on with the incident, not convincing your driver that it's okay, or like what I'm assuming obviously Tsunoda knows what he's feeling. Just say something or pull off the car. I just don't understand what the whole miscommunication was about. So hopefully they can get that cleared up in time for Monza, because that is just a huge safety issue too, all things considered, if they don't know what's going on with the car. But as previously mentioned, with regards to Alpine seat, if Gasly does get bought out from the settlement money from Piastri's contract nullification, they're going to likely go after Pierre Gasly and buy him out from AlphaTauri's contract, which then has an open seat at AlphaTauri. And rumor has it that's going to be Colton Herta coming from IndyCar. But the problem is he doesn't. I think he has enough. But I think 3 more points he needs to get for a supercar license. But there's ways to work around that. So I think, barring that they can work around that, Colton Herta will become the next driver at AlphaTauri, assuming Gasly gets bought out, which I think is probably the best, because for Alpine, when you want a whole French lineup, for the French manufacturer, just I think would hammer the team home well. Pierre and Ocon are very good drivers. Pierre's had some tough luck in that AlphaTauri this season. Hasn't really looked that amazing. Overall, as a team, though, they really haven't looked amazing. Hot start to the year with some points finishes in the first 4 races, but they have been dreadful ever since, except the P5 in Azerbaijan. But man, they've been bad. But a team that's kind of pulled up its socks a little bit, past 4 races, scored points. Aston Martin, Stroll finishing P10. It's a crazy car. Amazing race pace, but nowhere near on the qualifying pace. Like, good for Stroll to get into Q3, but he blew up his engine trying to do so he couldn't run. Started P10, finished P10, had good race pace in the race, and I think Vettel did too at points. But man, if they could just find a window to get that qualifying all sorted out and qualify well, they could score some points consistently on weekends. Just the qualifying pace has not been there. And with Fernando coming in next year, really hope they can figure out that car, because if they don't, he's coming from a team like Alpine that has a great car to battle in the midfield this past year to, having a car that's going to be at the back of the midfield again next season if they don't figure it out. But again, a 5-year window is what we've been promised at Aston Martin as fans. So be patient, people. Be patient. Move on to Haas. Haas had an interesting weekend. Schumi, it was crazy. Like, I don't think K-Mag really had a feel for the track all weekend. It was his first time driving there, I think, in a long time. He wasn't there last year when they first went to Zandvoort. He just did not look comfortable in that Haas car all weekend. And you can tell with I think it was the first lap incident when he went wide, hit the gravel barrier, or gravel trap, and then hit the barrier with his back left tire. I just don't think he had the confidence in the car going forward. And then, Schumi, Mick, qualifying his teammate in P8, highest he's ever qualified without wet conditions. And just unfortunately unlucky in the race, didn't get the pace. finished, I think it was P13 or P15. It was tough, and Haas haven't been able to score points over the last 4 races. It's kind of scary. They're getting crept up by Alpha. They should be getting crept up by AlphaTauri, but they're not. So they may have 7th in the constructors locked up, which would be an amazing season all considered. But I started off hot and then had 2 good races at Silverstone and the Red Bull Ring, but haven't since then have not been able to crack the top 10. So, and I don't know if it's been maybe the new quote unquote upgrades have caused an issue. They just really haven't been fast with those new upgrades. So we will see how it goes effectively with that team. But it would be nice to see Haas score some additional points, especially with if they don't re-sign Mick, they're gonna have to figure out a second driver. ASAP. And again, maybe that's Danny Rick, because I think he should be driving next season. I really don't think why he shouldn't be driving, in my opinion, unless it's Felipe Drugovich coming up, which could be another issue. I think would be a good opportunity for him. But again, it's all dependent on what happens with the Alpine incident. I think that's the final once that domino falls, the entire driver's transfer market will start to shape out accordingly. Last 2 teams, we'll talk about Aston Alfa Romeo. Again, another terrible weekend. Had a Valtteri's gearbox just absolutely went, or it could have been someone with the clutch, but he got stopped in the middle of the straight finish, on the straight finish line, kind of there on that straight towards turn 1. So he had to retire. And, Joe finishing P16. They're lucky he had some really good results early, because, man, they have been, again, horrible since their double retirement at Silverstone. They have not scored points, and they have not looked close really at all. It's just been tough sledding since Canada, where they both had a double points finish. So we'll see how they continue to press. Maybe they're just starting to focus. Maybe they're just changing focus on next year's 2023 car at this point, because who knows? Especially the teams in the bottom 5. Maybe you're trying to just, especially like a team like Alpha, you're 17 points clear of Haas, who really haven't been able to showcase that they've done anything. Do you think you just start focusing on 2023's car, take a gamble that you're going to make P6 in the championship and you get that money, get higher prize money than you would compared to last year, to focus on the car's future development? So little game you have to play there as a constructor to see what the best result would there be. And then with Williams, Alex Albon, I think he's been making the car competitive, which you want to see. Latifi, not so much. But I think there's going to be a lot, from what I hear or what I gather, there could be a lot of engine penalties taken at Monza this weekend, which may result in a good qualifying position for Albon. And fingers crossed, he can keep that car competitive and get more points for Williams, because they only have 4 and he's got all 4. It would be nice to see Latifi get a point. Everyone kind of get a point this year. That's the main driver. Like Nico doesn't count technically, because he only drove 2 races. But man, it would just be nice that from 19 to 20 drivers get a point. Let's get Latifi a point. Come on, 7 races, he can totally do it. Maybe they just try and maximize his opportunity on the sprint race in Interlagos to get a point there, but we shall see. So it's been a quick rendition of kind of the review for the Dutch Grand Prix. This weekend we are at Monza, standard format. But Max has not finished on the podium here at Monza. And if you remember last year, he had that big crash with Lewis down around right at turn 1. I think that whole fit's gonna be gone. Like that whole crux on him not getting a podium finish is gonna be gone this weekend. That car is too good. He is too good in that car. An absolute rocket ship, driven by one of the world's best Formula 1 pilots, effectively, right now. And it's Kenny Smith said it. It's over, ladies and gentlemen. It is over. I had no idea how Charles is going to make up again 109 points in 7 races. Unless Red Bull's car catches like literally fire every race. There's no way that Charles doesn't go down 109 points. So we'll see this weekend how it goes, but in my opinion, it's kind of over. And we're just kind of the waiting game. We're just kind of waiting for Max to take home the title at this point. Yeah, so that's the Dutch Grand Prix review. Thank you very much for listening. Please follow us on our social media pages on Instagram, F1.podcast, on our YouTube channel, as well as Richie, and then as well as our Apple and Spotify podcasts. So I know we had a little bit of technical difficulties uploading season 2, episode 18. But if you want to review the Belgian Grand Prix, before reviewing the Dutch Grand Prix, head over to Richie's YouTube channel to listen to that. So again, it's Andrew Cleary from the F1 podcast signing off to see what the heck happens at Monza this weekend. And maybe we might have another magical Monza moment. We had Pierre Gasly in 2022, Daniel Ricciardo in 2021. Who's it going to be this year? Tune in this weekend to find out. Bye, everybody.